center, you work with youth in church, and I know you can contest to this. When we look at the condition of our youth and their mental health, one thing I love about this generation, and you hear it a lot in their music, they don't have any objection in talking about where they are in life as it pertains to their mental health, as it pertains to them not having good days and being down and being depressed. Talk to me, Leroy, about the mental conditioning and the mental health of our young people that you're dealing with and you're encountering on a daily basis in your ministry work.
And also talk about what you do.
So what I do for a living is I work for a treatment facility, behavioral health.
Okay.
We focus on mental health and substance use.
Yes.
So I've been doing that for the last 17 years.
Wow.
And I work with adults, but we do have some youth people in the church. But to piggyback off of what you said, I think when you hear them conversate or when you hear their music, you hear it cry.
Yes.
They're really
Yes.
crying.
Yes.
Right, and then they're using a lot of drugs to self-medicate because they're not properly getting the help that they need. Right. And I think in a black community, mental health can be stigmatized.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so it's difficult for some to just own up to the fact that, man, I got some issues and I need to go sit down with a therapist. Now here's the hit. A lot of them sit down with a therapist and they see a therapist that don't look like them.
We just talked about that two episodes away.
So it makes it even more difficult for them to be able to self-disclose and detail what they're going through.
And open up.
Right. That's the piece that we're missing, right? Because sometimes I feel like the church can be ignorant to the issues that are prevalent in the community.
Yes.
The community can add value to the church by allowing them to understand the landscape of the land. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that's extremely important. And that's what always been like my vision is to, allow those two to cross paths and be able to then create a vehicle that could meet the needs of both parties.
Absolutely. Because I'm always saying we need more black teachers. Our children need to be they need to see representations of themselves in the learning space. But I extend that we need more black therapists. Because and Curtis Wright, we talked about it, I believe it was episode 20 or 19 with Chris and Darius, how he went to therapy, he wasn't getting the results that he needed until he was recommended to see a brother or sister that can maybe relate to his issues a little bit more. So I definitely encourage young people, when they're thinking about professions and things they want to get into that therapy space, because we need it. We need to be represented there as well.
I would go further to say, it makes me think of church after hours. It would be dope if the church had some of those mental health resources, outside of the actual Sunday, service. It would be, dope for the church to serve. That would be something that would bring a lot more people to the church. Right. There may be some churches out there that do it, but that's to me when we put this together, church after hours, how we were thinking of it.
That's just the fact that you said that just lets me understand our level of connection. That's my vision, right? That's part of the vision that I have, and I think it's important. You gotta be careful when you share your vision, because sometimes, somebody else can grab a hold of that and allow that to come to fruition. But that's the vision, because I know the importance of counseling.
Sure.
You see what I'm saying? When I'm speaking to a group of people, right, and it's a monologue instead of a dialogue, I don't give them an opportunity to communicate. When we see Jesus, when Jesus is, he's interacting with.
He's always in constant dialogue.
Always in constant dialogue, right? So I think the fact that you work with somebody individually gives you a different dynamic, and it also helps that individual feel safe.
Yes.
Helps that individual be able to talk about things that they may not want to talk about with a group of people.
Right.
It's kind of like when your parents base you out in front of your friends, right? Or check you in front of your friends, and then check you behind closed doors, let you get that off, and then later on bring you back and say, I ain't like how you did such and such.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was hot when you said that. I wanted to address that.
Right.
But I waited till your friends to leave because I ain't want to disrespect you in front of your friends.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and kids want to talk. You know what I mean? Like you said, they want to talk.
They do.
The stuff that they talk about, you better be prepared for what they got to get.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You feel me? And
Absolutely.
it reminds me of this little young girl that was in our youth group, different color hair. You know what I'm saying? Just really different. You know what I mean? You know, in regards to her youth, you know, if they dress this way, she dressed totally opposite. But man, like she would come to church and she would be like, you know, can I go out and smoke a cigarette? She had cigarettes on her, and she was never shunned for that. But she died later on as a young lady. But she was able to feel that love and acceptance in the church, even when society and her peers, you know, outcast her as a result of the things that she, the way that she was, or the things that she
How
did.
she presented herself.
How she presented herself, absolutely.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Because a lot of churches, everything goes through the pastor.
Absolutely.
You know, you get on a wait list to talk to the pastor. And a lot of times, you know, that pastor is doing some of the same things that people talk about. You know, you go to the pastor for marriage counseling, you know, to try to stop cheating, and the pastor cheated too. So, not saying that he can't tell you what God said, but it just helps when someone is trained, you know, in mental health and, you know, how to deal with people with substance abuse and have other tools to help people with.
And that's and so we have, you know, we have a board of trustees, then we have a board of elders. And on our elder board, you have licensed social workers, right? You have licensed therapists who are part of the discipleship groups, and you have people that understand substance abuse or licensed substance abuse counselors who are able to screen those people and place those people where they need to be. Right. So, and that's how we kind of do it, you know, because, you know, the Bible says that the church's responsibility is to equip the saints, not cripple them.
Right.
See, when you cripple them, now I gotta rely on the pastor.
Right.
But when you equip them, right, you need to go holler at Brother Diallo and Brother Kurt.
Right.
They can take care of those things, right? Because they've been trained, and because he's a pastor that's not full of ego.
Right.
See, if the church is only functioning because the pastor is functioning, then it's going to be difficult for them to win championships.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like when Brown was doing everything, right, on the court. And then when it was time for his team to show up, they didn't know how to show up in some capacities because during the season, they wasn't relying on them.
Oh, sure.
But man, when you train those guys to function like you and be a champion like you, then now you got a solid team.
Well, that's real. And the one thing that you said that was so important is how a lot of times in these instances the church is ignorant in these areas, and I like the fact that the church is now trying to not be ignorant and trying to implement these things that you're talking about. And we are in the home stretch, and before we wrap, man, I just want to let you go in and talk more about your business and how important it is to you when you talk about substance abuse and helping people get over some of those hurdles in their life as it pertains to substance abuse and things of that nature. Talk about that a little bit more in depth if you don't mind. And I think that's just as important as anything that we talked about thus far.
So, substance abuse is extremely dear to my heart. Substance abuse prevention, and because I lost my father because of substance abuse at 10 years old. And when my father left my family system, you know, we didn't have a shepherd in the house. We didn't have a visionary in the house, right? And the family just, you know, crumbled, you know, and my sister Bernie picked up the pieces.
Bernie.
Right,
Bernie.
but like, it has continued to take place in my family system throughout generations. You know what I mean? When I think about my mother's mother, You know, she died as a result of substance abuse. So when I look at my sister, she died as a result of substance abuse. So Diallo, man, it is. I have a vendetta, you know, against the disease of addiction because of what it has done to my family, man. So, and I too have experienced substance abuse. So I understand what a lot of these people are going through, right? Especially African Americans, because when you go into a lot of agencies that's geared to meet those populations, like I said, you know, you don't see a lot of African American therapists, right? And you don't see people in that facility that look like you. Yeah, that look like you. So what was beneficial for me is I had a guy that broke that down for me. He said, Leroy, these are the statistics of African Americans who seek treatment. And these are the increased numbers of those who don't seek treatment and need treatment. Because what happens is when we don't go and get the proper diagnosis, now we are allowing the criminal justice system, right, to lock us up for issues that we should be receiving counseling for. You see what I'm saying? So it's real important for us to take advantage of any opportunity, right? And as treatment providers, you have preferences when you go. So when I go into an agency and say, hey, I'm looking for a female therapist, I prefer a female therapist, that agency's responsibility is to meet that client's needs. Absolutely, because clients have rights, and those things are important. I want an African American counselor, right? I want a female counselor, and you should be able to receive those things. Now, if there is none present or their caseloads are filled, then you got to work with what you got, you know. And a lot of times, people have to suffer, man, before we realize that there is an issue in regards to mental health. You know, I think about family members who are, you know, the same age as me. You know, I'm 44 years old, and I got family members that are 40 that spent, you know, 28 years behind the wall. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I got a brother that did 14 years straight. You know, almost every male in my family have been to prison except me. You know, and what saved me was therapy. Right. Counseling is what saved me. Right? And God, you know, God, counseling, and just utilizing those resources, right? Because a lot of times it's difficult for blacks to trust people because we come from a place, man, I can't trust no counselor, I can't trust my PO, I ain't trusting and talking to the police, right? But then we give them the right to lock us up, right? When it's their job to protect this earth. So it's important for us to change the narrative and say, look, you know, I've been shot 3 times. My mom strung out on crack cocaine. My dad committed suicide. And I'm participating in criminal activity because I don't have a skill set. You know what I mean? Like at 13 years old, I had to provide for my family financially. So I resorted to selling drugs. Right. You know what I mean? So if you can help me not sell drugs, I'm willing to abide by the law. You know what I mean? So now I need some, you know, some economic placement or some economic advantages that could benefit me and keep me off the block and maybe allow me to go to counseling so that I won't have to resort to what I just resorted to. Right. That really can give me time and give me cause me to be separated from my family. So I think it's about understanding and utilizing these resources to help us benefit. You know, we gotta shatter a lot of those stigmas. Absolutely. You know, you say, Leroy, why you say that? Because me, my brother, and my 3 nephews all had the same probation officer. Wow. Right? Now watch this. My probation officer tell me, I'm gonna send you to prison first. I said, why you want to send me to prison? She said, because you're the one that got sentenced. She said, the rest of them ain't got no sentence. Now watch this. I went to my PO and told my PO, help me get some treatment, and explained to her what I experienced in my childhood. She helped me. People say, Leroy, you tripping? No, I ain't tripping. I'm going over here letting these people help me, and I had to break and shatter that stigma. Now, my brother ended up going to prison for 14. My nephew ended up going to prison for 5, 4.5, 3, 18 months. Right? My other nephew, he ended up going to prison for about 7 years, but he developed a skill, and now he don't participate in criminal activity at all, and he got his own barbershop. Right? And then my other little nephew, he just now coming home, and he's working a job, paying taxes, and doing what he needs to do. The point that I'm making is, I utilize the resources. They did. And a lot of people don't know that. So when I share with the community, they go, man, these people tripping. It's their job to service you, and if they don't have the cultural competency to address you as an African American or a Native American or a Latino or Hispanic, then they got to be able to provide you a service provider who understands your culture. Because if they don't understand your culture, guess what they do now? They now criminalize you. And when they criminalize you, they put you out of the facility and they recommend for you to be locked up. Lock him up.
Wow.
Something wrong with it. Yeah. We know that.
Right.
But we know that prison does not help individuals who go.
Not at all.
It doesn't rehabilitate them.
Say that a correct
Right?
facility at all.
Yeah, man, it puts us in the same environment, man, where now we got to increase the likelihood of protecting ourselves, increase the likelihood of violence, because I'm in here with murderers, gangbangers, and I might be in here with some guys that I've harmed some way in the past, where that stuff's coming back on me, man. So this stuff is serious, man.
Yeah.
And now when they get out of prison, they can't get a job.
Right.
Yeah.
So I need to participate. I have to participate in criminal activity, right?
It's like that cycle.
Yeah, man, keep you locked in, bro.
For real.
Yeah.
Man, this was a rich rich conversation. I don't want it to end, man, but we gotta end it.
Yeah.
Leroy, man, I thank you for your time, brother. I thank you for coming down and building with us, and hopefully the people really receive this message and they get something out of it. And this is one of those episodes I want people to share. You know, we say like, comment, subscribe, and all that, but no, you really need to share this and get this information in the hands of those people that need it, especially our young people and especially our young brothers and sisters who may have went down, you know, some of the paths that Brother Leroy talked about today. Before we get out of here, we're gonna get into our the message segment, and this is an African proverb, but I want to get both of you guys to take on it before we get out of here. And it simply says, "Only a fool tests the depth of a river with both feet." Kurt, and then we'll let Leroy get the last word.
Yeah, only a fool tested. Yeah, I like that because
I knew you were gonna
I really like it because it speaks on foolishness, and what we need to do is educate ourselves.
Yes.
You know, so many people speak on things that they have no idea about. You know what I mean? And they speak about it with, you know, such energy, you know, and that's just foolishness.
Right.
You know, so I definitely, you want to dip your toe in and then you learn.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. So once you gain that understanding and you know how deep it is, then you go further.
Right.
But yeah, knowledge is key.
Be careful what you involve yourself in, right? Whether it's good or bad. If it's good, I still think it takes a process of learning to obtain what it is that you're seeking.
Right.
And a lot of times we jump in with both feet because we see it's cool for the culture. Not knowing how that stuff is going to damage me and affect my life and my children in the long run. Right? So keep your eyes open and, you know, pray before you make any decision. Yeah.
That's real. Hey, man, this is Church After Hours. Again, thank you, Brother Leroy, for your time. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
This has been another great episode, and we'll see y'all next week. Church After Hours.
Peace.